Part 11 on the boy at the back of the class. That weekend, I decided I wanted to ask Mom some more of my 11 questions to see if she knew the answers. I waited until Sunday morning arrived because that was when I knew Mom wouldn't be too tired and I could ask her lots of things instead of just one or two things. The only problem is I had to be extra patient because every Sunday morning my mom spends at least 1 hour reading the Sunday morning paper. It's not a real Sunday paper because my mom never buys them, and she says you can buy a whole meal for that price of a Sunday paper than these days. So instead, all through the week, she collects 2 of the biggest newspapers from the reference section of the library. And then on Saturday night, she brings them home and gets them ready for the next day. She opens them out at the centre and puts them in order, so that Monday's papers are on top and Saturday's papers at the bottom, and she folds them together like a big book. It's too heavy to hold up and read 12 big pages in one go, so Mom always reads it bent over the kitchen table as if she's doing homework. I don't like disturbing Mom when she's reading the paper because she only gets to do it once a week, so I quickly finished my toast and milk and silently stared at her as she finished her breakfast. But grown-ups take an awfully long time eating breakfast when they don't have to go to work. And on this morning, Mom seemed to be moving so slowly that you could hardly call it moving at all. I could hear the ticking of the kitchen clock getting louder and louder, and my fingers and legs getting bored of waiting. As soon as Mom took the last bite of her toast, I decided I couldn't wait any longer and asked, "Mom, where's Syria?" The question made her look right away. "What did you say, darling?" "Just, do you know where Syria is, Mom?" I said more quietly. Mom pushed her glasses and looked at me with the head to one side. Then she said, "Syria is a country very far away from here, my love. What do you want to know?" I shrugged. "That's where the new boy in our class is from." "Ah," she said, nodding. "Okay, tell you what, why don't you go and get the atlas book and I'll show you." I nodded and ran to the living room trying to remember where I had put the atlas book. It's hard finding a book in our house because we have so many of them. Mom loves collecting old books and reading them again and again. She takes the copies that are about to be thrown away by her library. You could say she rescues them. The only problem is we don't really have space for any more because our rooms are all covered with piles of old books, even the toilet. The atlas book was big and Mom always kept the very big books at the bottom shelf of our bookcase. So I climbed over the back of the sofa and crawled down into a narrow gap head first to see if it was there. Luckily it was. I grabbed it and pulled it out. The atlas book is one of the oldest books in the house and is almost half as tall as me and just as heavy, so I dragged it behind into the kitchen and placed it with a bang on the kitchen table. I watched as Mom flipped to the index, then to a page near the middle. "Here you go," she said, turning the map around to show me. "This atlas is a little old, but I don't think the borders have changed that much." I let my finger meet hers where it said the word Syria in capitals and looked at the strange shape of the country the new boy had run away from. It looked like a woman yawning and wearing a tiara and whose hair was being blown in the wind, except she was all pointy. "Mom, what fruits do people from Syria like the most?" I crossed my fingers and toes, hoping she would know the answer, because if she did, then I would know the answers to 3 of my original 11 questions. I had found out where the new boy was from and what language he spoke, and as a bonus, had seen what his country looked like on a map and learned he was good at football. Well, let's see, I don't really know. I guess some fruits we do, and exotic ones like dates and pomegranates. Your Auntie Salma used to make chicken with pomegranate seeds, remember? I shook my head. "Ah, well, it's quite a while ago. It was before your dad had to leave us. But I think the dish she used to make was a Syrian one. Or was it Lebanese? I can't remember. But here, you see," she said, pointing to a country next to Syria, which had the word Lebanon on it. Lebanon and Syria are right next door to each other, so I guess they must eat the same kind of fruits. "Can we ring and ask her?" Mom smiled. "I can ask her next time she calls. Remember, she lives here now." And Mom pointed to a much larger country lying above Syria called Turkey. "It's a bit far and it'd be expensive to call her right now. But listen, we'll go and see her one day soon, and when we do, you can ask her and Uncle Taragway all about it in person." I nodded, but didn't say anything because I suddenly missed my Auntie Salma an awful lot. It's funny how you can go for long bits of time without even thinking of someone and then suddenly feel all wrong because you realise they're not around anymore. I feel like that about my dad sometimes. It feels horrible when I go to bed and realise that I haven't thought about him all day, not even for a minute, but then I always remember him at night before I go to sleep, because that's when he used to tell me stories and do funny patterns on my forehead, and so it tickled. It's different with Auntie Salma, though, because she's not my real auntie, so I think it might be okay if I don't think about her every day. She's my mom's best friend because they like laughing about same things. She has dimples just like I do, and she always wears a lot of sparkling bracelets and necklaces. She used to live 2 floors below us with Uncle Torgay, and every Sunday night they would invite Mum and Dad and me down for dinner and give us all sorts of special things to eat, like bread with spinach inside and its special kind of tea that come in a small glass and didn't have any milk in it. I remember the tea because Dad let me taste it once, but I didn't like it at all. But then, after Dad died, Auntie Sam and Uncle Torgay said that they were leaving because of the economy was being bad. Grown-ups are always talking about the economy, especially in shops and bus stops and on the news, and always sound angry or sad when they talk about it. I hate the economy because it made Auntie Sam and Uncle Torgay disappear, just like Dad. They send us pictures and boxes of sweets sometimes in the post, and even though I like getting things from them because the stamps are interesting, I can tell it makes Mom sad. Now there's only an old lady living in the flat and she never speaks to anyone. I don't think Mom could be best friends with her even if she wanted to. Thought about my question again. So, people from Syria like pomegranate, Mom corrected. Remember, like, let's see, 1/2 of a pom-pom and a delicious letter E and then your gran 8, pomegranate. I nodded and said the word out loud 3 times. I love it when Mom comes up with ways to help me remember how to spell or say a word. Last year I had to learn the word conundrum for a spelling test but kept forgetting how many nuns or N's were in it. My mom told me to close my eyes and picture a man called Cole and a lovely nun banging on a drum, and I've never spelt it wrong since. I thought about pomegranates and how they might be Ahmet's favourite food and how he might be missing them. So I asked Mom, can we get one? One what, darling? A pomegranate, I said carefully. They're a bit expensive and you can't find them everywhere. How expensive? I'm not sure, about £1.50, I think. What? Nearly £2 just for one? I cried out. You could buy a whole packet of colouring pens and rubber for that much money. Mom laughed. Yes, darling, for one. They come a long way to our supermarkets. And secondly, a pomegranate is also really special fruit. It's like millions of tiny fruit all hidden away inside a small ball, and you can eat it for days. Oh, I said, it's hard to think about what millions of one fruit hidden inside a small ball would look like. She looked at me and then smiled. Do you want me to see if we can find one? Make that our adventure for today. I jumped up and nodded. But can we get 2, I asked. And why would you need 2? I think Mom already knew the answer because her lips looked like they were about to smile. I don't think she'll tell me off, even though pomegranates are so expensive. But you can never be too sure with grown-ups. Sometimes they don't tell you off even when you've done something you know you shouldn't have. And at other times, when you think you haven't done anything bad at all, they punish you twice as much. Michael says it's so they can keep us on our toes. But I've never stood on my toes when I'm being told off, so I don't know how that works. I want to get 2 so I can give 1 to the new boy, I said. And I'm giving him my sherbet melons and sweets after school, but he doesn't like them that much. Then I gave him an apple and an orange, and he liked those better. And Miss Hempsey said he's from Syria, he only speaks. I hesitated, trying to remember what Miss Hempsey said. Arabic, Mom said, trying to help. I shook my head. Kurdish, I guessed, knowing it was wrong. Kurdish, I nodded. I see. I could tell Mom was interested in what I was saying because she leaned back in her chair and folded her arms. But I thought maybe he'd like the fruit he used to have at home of all time, because the bullies dropped bombs on everything and made him run away. I stopped, worried that Mom would think that it was a silly and maybe a waste of money buying food only to give it away, but she didn't. Instead, she said, I think that's a brilliant idea. Go get ready and we'll head out on a pomegranate hunt.